found that when I first started studying linguistics, people would often think that I must get really bothered when people say incorrect things. But what was really fascinating and liberating about linguistics is that we study language as it is, not as it should be. So we're interested in the things people actually do with language. And so that's what's so interesting about the Grammatical Diversity Project, is that we're interested in looking at the different forms of language that appear in North America, and not at all in making any kind of judgment call about which one's better or which one's worse. And it's funny because it turns out that there's actually a lot of variation in North America in terms of the syntax of different varieties. And some of it, for example, is based on geography. Like in a lot of parts of New England, people will say things like "so don't I" to mean "so do I."
We find that English also differs across generational lines. For example, we find a construction that uses "so," such as "you're so in the doghouse for this," or "that is so 1980." What are these younger speakers doing? Are they illogical? Are they crazy? Not at all, right? They're using "so," the same kind of "so" that we find in sentences like "I was so tired last night that I couldn't keep my eyes open." And we find that actually, as suggested by Tricia Irwin in her work, this construction is present in the same speakers who can use the adverb "totally" to mean definitely. You're totally in the doghouse with this. Or that is totally 1980. What they're doing is extending the rule of "so" to the presence of an adverb that is left silent or unpronounced. So they're applying a completely natural option that is found across languages, and they're creating a new construction that distinguishes them from older speakers.
And I think one of the important things that comes from all this study, in realizing that these different varieties of English are equally complex and equally interesting from a linguistic point of view, is that the judgments that we have about language are social judgments. They're not really linguistic judgments.
Ideally, what I would love to see come out of this project, in addition to a better understanding of the structure of English and therefore the structure of human language, is also a social consequence, something that can affect our daily life. And that is, if we can convey to people that the social judgment that we associate with a certain linguistic variety is really simply a social judgment, we could eliminate a prejudice, right? We could convince people that we shouldn't look down on people who speak non-standard varieties of English. So ideally, I would love to see that, removing the prejudice and creating a sense of pride in the languages, the linguistic varieties that people speak. That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.